Hello everyone, welcome to Dr. Khalkar's classroom. In last video, we have discussed about the phenomena of interference from unit number 1, that is wave optics. If you have not seen my previous video, you just click above mentioned link. You will get directed to the link to see my previous video. In this video, let's discuss about the next phenomena of light, that is diffraction. In this video, I will discuss about the diffraction phenomena of light, then types of diffraction, and diffraction at a single slit. So let's move on. Diffraction is bending of light due to presence of an obstacle in the path of light. A diffraction pattern results from the interference of waves diffracted by an obstacle coming from the same source of the light. It means when light falls on obstacles whose size is comparable with the wavelength of light, it bends around the corners of the obstacles and enter in the geometrical shadow. This bending of light is called diffraction. So there are two important parameters to see the diffraction phenomena or the diffraction pattern. That first is the size of obstacle must be comparable to the wavelength of light. And second one, the source of light must be a point source. At the same time, a portion of wavefront must be cut off by the obstacle on which the light will incident. So all these parameters are very important to observe the diffraction phenomena. Now let's see the conditions of diffraction. If we want to observe the diffraction pattern, then few conditions are very important. Diffraction is more pronounced if the size of obstacle is less than the wavelength of the light. As shown in this diagram, this is a slit and light is coming from the source in this direction. So the width of the slit, that is small a, is very much greater than the wavelength of the light, that is the lambda. So whatever the diffraction pattern will be observed, it will be in this fashion. Similarly, in the second diagram, the width of the slit is exactly equal to the wavelength of the light, so that we can see some diffraction pattern at the back side of the slit. In third case, wavelength of the light is very much greater than the width of the slit. Hence, whatever the diffraction pattern will be observed behind the slit will be look like in this fashion. Let's see animation clip in which diffraction phenomena is shown in this fashion. Here small a is width of the slit and lambda is the wavelength of the light. When this light is incident on slit A, in left hand side diagram you can see the diffraction pattern which is not completely filled in the background of the slit. Whereas in right hand side diagram you can see the wavelength of the light is greater than the width of the slit. So if this condition is there, then diffraction pattern will be observed which is very much filled in the background of the slit. Now let's see the types of diffraction. Depending upon the position of source of the light and the slit and the diffraction pattern which is observed on the screen, there are two types of the diffraction. First is Fresnel's diffraction and second one is Fraunhofer diffraction. In Fresnel's diffraction, source and the screen are placed at finite distances from the slit as shown in this diagram. It means the distance between the source of the light and the slit and the distance between the slit and the screen, all these distances are at finite. To observe the Fresnel's diffraction, such experimental arrangement is required. In this diffraction type, the incident wavefront is either spherical or cylindrical. Next type of diffraction is Fraunhofer diffraction. In this diffraction, the source of the light and the screen are placed at infinite position. So in this case, as you can see in this diagram, If we want to get light incident on the surface of the slit, we need special arrangement of the lens. As shown in this diagram, you can see lens L1 is placed in between source of the light S and the slit. Whereas to get the diffraction pattern on the screen, we need one more lens which is placed between the slit and the screen as shown in figure. The light which is coming from the lens L1 has wavefront plane. It means on the slit surface, incident wavefronts are plane. This is the important condition to observe Fraunhofer diffraction pattern on the screen. When such wavefront is incident on the slit, each point on this wavefront is a source of secondary wavefront. The secondary waves from the points of equidistant from the center of the slit and situated in the upper and lower part of the wavefront travel the same distance to reach at point P0. Hence the path difference is 0 as shown in figure. The secondary waves interfere with one another and P will be a point of maximum intensity. In this fashion, we can observe the Fraunhofer diffraction pattern on the screen, in which the maximum intensity will be at point P0, whereas at point P we will observe less intensity. Now let's see the main differences between the Fraunhofer diffraction and the Fresnel diffractions. As far as Fresnel diffraction is concerned, the point source of light is used as a light source. When the light incident on aperture or the obstacle or any slit, the wavefront is spherical or the cylindrical type. Next important difference is source and the screen are at finite distance in Fresnel diffraction, so that we can observe the diffraction pattern on the screen. As this experimental arrangement is placed at finite distance, so lenses are not required to observe the Fresnel diffraction pattern on the screen. Whereas in Fraunhofer diffraction, extended source of light is used which is placed at infinite distance. Therefore, light incident on the slit has plane wavefront. So this is the main difference between the Fresnel diffraction and the Fraunhofer diffraction. Next important point in Fraunhofer diffraction is that source of the light and the screen, they are placed at infinite distance. So lenses are used to focus the light on the slit. Now let's see the Fraunhofer diffraction at a single slit in detail. As you can see in this diagram, the width of the slit is A, small a, and its length is AB. The center of the slit is point O. When the light ray with plane wavefront is incident on the slit AB, and each point on this wavefront is a source of the secondary wavefront, from point OA and OB of the wavefront travels the same distance at point P0. Hence the path difference is 0. Whereas the secondary waves interfere with one another and P0 will be a point of maximum intensity. As shown in this diagram, you can see at the point P0, it shows maximum amplitude, eventually maximum intensity, as intensity is nothing but the square of the amplitude. Hence we are getting bright central image. The secondary wavelets traveling at an angle of theta are focused at a point P on the screen as shown in figure, where this angle of theta is nothing but the angle of diffraction. The intensity at the point P is either minimum or maximum and depends upon the path difference between the secondary waves originating from the corresponding points of the wavefront. To understand the Fraunhofer diffraction at a single slit more clearly, let's see one animation clip. Here small a is the width of the slit, where lambda is the wavelength of the light. So when the light is incident on the surface of the slit, it will get diffracted. So we can get the secondary wavefronts here indicated with the red arrows, and its wavefront is spherical, so as indicated over here. So this is very important in this case, that the width of the slit is less than the wavelength of the light. So wavelength of the light is greater than the width of the slit. So resultant waveform which is obtained here, we can see here in the form of the wave, a red line is there. So this is what actually diffraction of light at a single slit happens. Intensity equation at point P. For that, let's draw a perpendicular AC on B. So if we want to calculate the path difference between the secondary wavelets which are coming from the point A and point B in the direction of BC, then the equation can be written as the path difference delta is equal to BC, that is equal to AB into sine of theta. But the length AB is nothing but the width of the slit, and width of the slit we have considered small a. So this equation we can write delta is equal to small a into sine of theta, where theta is nothing but the angle of diffraction. So this is equation number 1. So to calculate the phase difference, as we know that the relation between the path difference and the phase difference, so phase difference is nothing but 2 pi by lambda into the path difference. So according to that formula, we can write phase difference is equal to 2 pi by lambda into delta. So delta is nothing but the path difference. So equation is path difference is equal to 2 pi by lambda into a into sine of theta. Now let's consider that the width of the slit is divided into n number of equal parts, and the amplitude of the wave for each part is A, capital A. So the phase difference between two consecutive points can be written as small delta is equal to 1 upon small n in bracket 2 pi by lambda into a sine of theta, bracket complete. Let's say this is equation number 2. Amplitude is calculated by using the method of vector addition of amplitudes. From diagram at point P0 we are getting maximum intensity. That means at P0 the angle of diffraction is 0. That means directly the light is coming through the slit and it incident at point P0. So there is no any diffraction, that's why we are getting the maximum intensity. So here we consider theta is equal to 0. On the other hand, diffraction happens at theta is not equal to 0. Now consider a diffracted wave which is diffracted with angle of theta and a arc of its wavelet as shown in this figure. Here side r can be calculated with the help of this angle. So according to the trigonometry we can write r is equal to small a into sine of n delta divided by 2 divided by sine delta divided by 2. This is equation number 3. Now by substituting the value of delta we can write r is equal to small a into sine of in bracket pi by lambda a sine of theta divided by sine of in curly bracket small n in bracket pi by lambda into a sine of theta, bracket complete, curly bracket complete. Therefore substituting alpha is equal to pi by lambda into a sine of theta. For the simplification, above equation can be written as capital R is equal to a into sine of alpha divided by sine alpha upon n. Here we know that as alpha by n is a very small angle, then sine of alpha n tends to a upon n. Therefore capital R is equal to small n into small a sine of alpha upon alpha. This is equation number 4. Now as n into a is equal to capital A, and that capital A is nothing but the maximum amplitude at the point P0, hence equation number 4 can be written as capital R is equal to a, capital A, that is the amplitude, into sine of alpha upon alpha. Therefore, as we know that intensity is directly proportional to the square of the amplitude, therefore the intensity can be written as I for intensity, I square is equal to R square is equal to capital A square into sine square of alpha upon alpha square. So this is equation number 5. And this equation is the equation for the intensity at point P0 where there is no diffraction of the light. That means diffraction angle theta is equal to 0, where we are getting maximum intensity of the light. Now let's find out the conditions for the principal maxima. That is the first case. So in first case, at alpha is equal to 0, where we are getting the maximum intensity, hence alpha is equal to pi by lambda into a sine of theta, that is equal to 0. Therefore, sine of theta is equal to 0 because theta is equal to 0. So at theta equal to 0, we are getting the maximum intensity because diffraction angle is 0. Therefore, at point P0 is called as a principal maximum. Therefore, intensity of principal maxima can be written as, that is R max is equal to limit of alpha tends to 0 a sine of alpha upon alpha, that is equal to a into limit alpha tends to 0 sine of alpha upon alpha. Therefore, this term is nothing but is equal to 1. So a into 1, that is equal to 1. So we got R max is equal to capital A. Therefore, intensity equation we can write I max square is equal to R max square is equal to A square. So this is equation number 6. Equation number 6 gives us the value of maximum intensity at point P0, which is shown in the diagram. Now let's see the case number 2, that is the minimum intensity position, where we are getting 0 intensity. The values of alpha is equal to 0, which satisfies that sine alpha is equal to 0. So therefore alpha is equal to plus minus phi, plus minus 2 pi, plus minus 3 pi, and so on up to the plus minus n pi. So therefore the equation we can write pi by lambda a sine of theta is equal to plus minus n pi, where a sine of theta is equal to plus minus n lambda, where n is equal to 1, 2, 3 and so on. So this is equation number 7. In equation number 7, n is equal to 0 is not possible or not applicable, because this n is equal to 0, this condition is correspond to the principal maxima, where theta is equal to 0, that is there is no diffraction of the light. So at point P0 we were getting maximum intensity. Therefore the positions are on either side of the principal maxima. Therefore, the position of minimum intensity is always beyond the principal maxima on its left and right side. Now let's see the case number 3, that is secondary maxima. So the principal maxima at alpha is equal to 0. There are weak secondary maximas between the minima's position. The positions of these weak secondary maxima can be obtained with the rule of finding maxima and minima of the given functions in the calculus. So differentiating intensity equation and equating to the 0, we can write the above equation in this form. di divided by d alpha is equal to d by d alpha in bracket a square sine square alpha upon alpha square. So this is equal to 0. It implies di upon d alpha is equal to 2a square sine of alpha upon alpha into a cos of alpha minus sine of alpha upon alpha square. So this is tends to 0. But as we know that a square, capital A square, is not equal to 0 when sine alpha is not equal to 0. Because sine of alpha is equal to 0, which corresponds to the minimum position. Therefore, alpha cos alpha minus sine alpha is equal to 0, which gives us the value alpha is equal to tan alpha. The value of alpha can be obtained graphically by plotting the curves. Therefore, x is equal to alpha, and if y is equal to tan of alpha, we can plot the graph as shown in this diagram. This graph shows the intensity variation with the value of alpha. So at the center we are getting maximum amplitude, and eventually at the left hand side and the right hand side we are getting the less amplitude. Now if we calculate the above equation by substituting the values of alpha, we can write intensity 1 is equal to capital A square in bracket sine of 3 pi by 2 divided by 3 pi by 2 bracket square. So after calculating we will get I1 is equal to A square divided by 22. Similarly, for the I2's value, we will get A square by 62 and I3 value A square by 125 and so on. So that's why as the numbers goes on increasing, we will get the less intensity values. So this is all about the diffraction at a single slit, and we have calculated the equation for the intensity at the center, that is at the point P0 where there is a maximum intensity which is principal maxima. Similarly, the intensity values for the secondary minima and so on. So this is all about the diffraction at a single slit. If suppose we divide this single slit into n number of slits, then that assembly will be called as a diffraction grating. So the detailed explanation about the diffraction grating we will discuss in the next video lecture. To view that video, you just click above mentioned link. You will be directed to that video. Thanks for watching this video, and please like, share and subscribe my channel to get the notification about my upcoming lecture videos. Thank you. Below this video in the description, the links of important information or the videos are given there. Please go through it. Please like and share this video and subscribe to my channel if you are not subscribed yet to get the notification of my upcoming video lectures. Thank you very much.